We'll see about that. It's a pretty long way away. It's way past Kosovo. It's a good probably 10 hours down to there. And also, it's a very unfortunate fact of life that unless you get large figures of dead, is it worth it? I mean, every human life obviously is a tragedy, but unless there's large amounts of civilians killed, people are getting killed in ones and twos and threes all over Serbia at the moment. So I doubt if this will be one of those occasions.
Now, some, Tim, are calling this the week of diplomacy, but is there any real sign that this week is progressing any more than any other?
Yes, it is progressing, albeit painfully slowly, and there's no reason to be hopeful. However, the fact that Viktor Chernomyrdin, the Russian envoy, met a senior American diplomat, Strobe Toblet, who's the Deputy Secretary of State, one under just from Madeleine Albright in Finland yesterday, I do think is significant. They've clearly got something to talk about, and what they've been talking about, as far as I can understand, is the makeup of any international force which would go into Kosovo after a ceasefire. And he's now coming here. We expect Viktor Chernomyrdin here this afternoon to meet President Milosevic. So there's a window, there's a possibility. At least they're talking. We'll have to wait until tonight to see if there's any sort of progress at all. There's not going to be a breakthrough here, but there is at least progress because they're talking.
Tim, thank you.
Familie gehören zu den wenigen glücklichen Albanern in Skopje. Zwar hat Recep nur einen Aushilfsjob, 300 Mark im Monat verdient er, aber er besitzt ein kleines Haus in der Altstadt. 4 Zimmer und 100 Quadratmeter, das ist gerade genug Platz für die Eltern und die 3 Kinder. Seit einem Monat ist es noch enger geworden zu Hause, denn die Ajdas haben Kosovo-Flüchtlinge aus Uroševac aufgenommen, einen Vetter und seine 4-köpfige Familie. Die Tochter des Hauses, Šipe Ajda, ist 19. Sie macht gerade Abitur an der albanischsprachigen Schule. 2 Jahre war sie in Deutschland, bis der Asylantrag des Vaters abgelehnt wurde. Studieren möchte sie auch wieder in Deutschland, denn an der Uni hier gibt es für albanischsprachige Studenten nur die Ausbildung zum Lehramt. Auch abends zieht es Šipe nicht hinüber in die mazedonische Neustadt.
Ich gehe nicht. Ich bleibe einfach zu Hause oder gehe in meine Seite spazieren oder bleibe ich zu Hause lernen und sowas, Fernseher schauen.
Varda heißt der Fluss, der die mazedonische Hauptstadt teilt. Die Trennung ist mehr als nur geografisch. Am rechten Ufer wohnen, leben und arbeiten 600.000 Mazedonier, links siedeln 200.000 Albaner. Auf den ersten Blick in der schönen Altstadt mit den Läden und dem Bazar. Aber hinter der Fassade sieht die Welt anders aus. Die Stadt investiert hier nichts. Sozialwohnungen gibt es auf dieser Seite nicht. Auch Baugenehmigungen für neue Häuser werden nicht erteilt. Der türkische Stadtteil, wie die Mazedonier ihn nennen, platzt aus allen Nähten. Ilya Acevski, Soziologe an der Uni Skopje, hat die Lebens- und Wohnsituation der beiden Bevölkerungsteile verglichen. Seine Bilanz ist deutlich. Den Albanern werden in Skopje schlechtere Chancen geboten. Die mazedonische Bevölkerung möchte unter sich bleiben. Ausgrenzung ist die Folge. Das Zentrum von Skopje ist praktisch völlig geteilt. Städtebaulich, sozial, ethnisch. Und beide Teile driften immer weiter auseinander. Es findet eigentlich kaum noch ein Austausch statt. Und leider sehe ich auch keinerlei Anzeichen für eine Verbesserung. Es fehlt einfach das Geld und der politische Wille, um das Problem anzupacken. Familie Ajda kennt diese Spannungen und die Flüchtlingswelle aus dem Kosovo hat die Stimmung vor allem bei der serbischen Minderheit in Skopje noch weiter erhitzt. Ganz sicher. Sie wollen hier nicht auch noch albanische Flüchtlinge haben. Schon wegen der vielen Kinder. Mazedonier und Serben fürchten, dass wir irgendwann die Mehrheit in der Stadt stellen könnten. An warmen Frühlingstagen treffen sich die Jungverliebten unten am Fluss. Rechts die Christen, links die Muslime. So ist das hier in Skopje.
And I hope that the efforts on the diplomatic front will succeed and we will have a political solution permitting the refugees to go home in security with their political and human rights protected. I will take your questions if there are any.
Mr. General, we met at CNN World press conference and you said that United Nations haven't done too much for Macedonia. So yeah, I will ask you again the same question as asked there about can we expect something from UN for Macedonia?
I think first of all we are working with the government and providing some assistance to the situation on the ground, both financially and otherwise. We are also in touch with governments, encouraging them to give economic and material assistance to the government of Macedonia. We know that the crisis has affected the budget and the economy of the country and the lives of people. and that the international community should work with the government and with the region to rebuild it. And I think this is going to be a long-term process, 5 to 10 years. It's not something that we can do instantly and overnight. But in my discussions with governments, I sense that the support and the willingness is there.
Monsieur le secrétaire général, comment jugez-vous les efforts de paix à l'heure actuelle ou les offres diplomatiques de Belgrade? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Comment jugez ces offres?
Évidemment, il y a des discussions en ce moment. Il y a eu aujourd'hui une réunion à Helsinki entre le président Ahtisaari, ex-premier ministre Tjernomirdin et Stroop Talbot, l'adjoint de Madame Albright. Et également aujourd'hui, il y a eu une réunion des directeurs du département politique en Allemagne, où ils ont également discuté cette question de Kosovo. J'espère que d'ici, en quelques jours, bien très peu de temps, M. Ahtisaari.
I serbi sono vicini a Lumniku, i combattimenti sono là. Nei territori a nord-est di Tropoje, i soldati dell'esercito UCK portano i giornalisti oltre confine, si entra in Kosovo. Questa postazione si chiama Kashara, prima era dei serbi, ora l'abbiamo conquistata noi. Sentite, questa è la guerra.
Effetto perché facciamo combattimento per la nostra liberazione, per il nostro paese. Vedete che una più principale, che stiamo facendo guerra per il nostro popolo. Questa è la prima cosa. E vita è dura perché è guerra.
Sono volontari che vengono da tutta Europa, tra loro anche uomini inglesi e americani che sembrano molto addestrati alla guerra. Ufficiali forse venuti qui per preparare al combattimento i giovani UCK. Tutti gli alberi sono spezzati, sono i segni delle granate serbe, dei combattimenti appena terminati. I soldati abbandonano le truppe per andare tra le montagne del fronte di guerra. E mentre in Europa la diplomazia tenta ancora una volta la strada del dialogo, per questi uomini l'unica via per una pace possibile è quella dell'indipendenza del Kosovo.
Sono centinaia i profughi kosovari recuperati la scorsa notte sulle rocce di Punta Linguetta al largo di Valona, praticamente nello stesso punto dove alcuni giorni fa un gommone carico di rifugiati si era schiantato contro le rocce. La metà almeno del gruppo è composta da bambini. Agli uomini del 28° gruppo navale che li hanno soccorsi, i profughi hanno chiesto se già si trovavano in Italia. Sembra che gli scafisti li abbiano abbandonati sugli scogli dicendo che erano già arrivati a destinazione. Ora sono tutti ospitati al centro di prima accoglienza di Valona. Sono altri profughi che si aggiungono ai 450.000 profughi ospitati ormai in Albania con i campi che non riescono più a accoglierli.
Grazie,
Milosevic's brutal policy of ethnic cleansing. Serbian ground forces rely on their tanks, artillery, mortars, anti-aircraft artillery, surface-to-air missiles, armored personnel carriers, trucks, and of course other military equipments to continue their operations. The Serbian military forces directly support the special police, as I already mentioned in the past, and they do support the paramilitaries in their repressive actions. To attack these forces, we have employed a mix of NATO aircraft that are available for use in close air support and also battlefield air operation interdictions. The versatility of NATO aircraft allows us to use this type of weapon that provides maximum effectiveness while minimizing the possibility of damage to civilians and also to civilian property. I can report to you that present time we have struck 11 battalion or brigade command posts. We have struck a total of 556 individual pieces of military equipment, out of which 312 were tanks, artillery, and/or armored personnel carriers. This adding up to almost 31% of the entire estimated Serb heavy forces in Kosovo. Let me finish my presentation with a short update of NATO's operations over the last 24 hours. Weather in the operating area and in the air-to-air refueling areas limited, like yesterday, NATO's actions. In Kosovo, 3 more Super Gallop aircraft were destroyed and 1 damaged. These numbers, of course, are included in the previous slide. You may have heard an earlier report that 6 aircraft were destroyed. This figure, unfortunately, was issued in error. 6 were discovered on the ground, but only 4 of them were destroyed. Artillery positions were also attacked, but the results are not yet known. As you can see, attacks against strategic targets were also limited. The Valjevo ammunition plant was struck again, further limiting supplies to the army. On the ground, Yugoslav army action continued in the center of Kosovo and on the Albanian border, with cross-border artillery firing into Albania and a small incursion by troops also into Albania. This, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the update of today.
10,000 deserters in the Serb army. Is that figure accurate? Is it just a guess? Can you elaborate a bit?
On the first question, both is a fact. The Serb army is still fighting UCK in the areas which were depicted on the view foil. And secondly, we have good evidence that in the area, especially towards Albania, positions have been made to revetments, tanks are being dug in to be prepared for an attack from the side of Albania.
On the question of deserters, I would like to think that 13,000 were true, but I don't have any information on that. Let's get George, please.
Thank you. Today, Chancellor Schröder confirmed that Germany was firmly against to use ground forces before any kind of agreement. 2 days ago, Foreign Secretary Robin Cook said that the agreement wasn't a precondition to use this instrument. Meanwhile, the Italian government stick to the point that a pause could be useful, while the other countries are strictly against. Aren't these signs show that the unity is not so solid as it used to be?
Well, George, you will not be surprised to hear me say that I don't think that's true. In fact, I've just heard Prime Minister D'Alema addressing the Italian Parliament saying, I quote, "I believe in such a delicate moment, Italy's duty is to move in synchronization with its NATO allies." And as you heard the Chancellor today, and I don't believe there are any differences in what people are saying. We all agree that we should stick with the current strategy. Everybody has said that in recent days. That strategy is working. It's going to be even more effective in the next few days as we carry on. As General Yurts has just shown you, we are now really beginning to achieve that objective of degrading the Yugoslav forces severely. And we want to keep that up. We all agree, too, that ground troops should be introduced only once the Yugoslav forces are retreating, are withdrawing from Kosovo. We made that clear at the Washington summit. That policy has not changed whatever. We all agree, thirdly, that we are not going to send ground forces to fight in Kosovo, but as a peace force, as part of a peace implementation force, once the Yugoslav forces are withdrawing. Now, I can understand that as the campaign goes on into its 56th day, everybody is looking for a story. If I were a journalist, I'd be doing the same. But there is no story in terms of NATO differences on ground troops. None whatever. And I've said in the past, and I say it again, the precise timing, the precise circumstances as to when those ground forces are introduced, once our political goals have been met, will be decided in common by all 19 countries of the North Atlantic Council. But that time is not now. This is not today's debate. Today's debate is continuing the air operations and turning the diplomatic screw even tighter on Milosevic and preparing our ground force to be ready for when the time for its deployment comes. Those are the priorities today, not speculating on the exact timing as to when that ground force would be deployed. When the time comes, I don't think anybody, either you or I, will have any difficulty.
There were still differences of opinion with Russia. Moscow has proposed a temporary halt to airstrikes in order to negotiate a UN peace resolution on Kosovo. But NATO insists that the bombing will stop only when NATO's conditions are met. The German leader said there was room for compromise, and the latest Finnish-Russian mediation talks had been a success.
It's not yet cause for celebration, but I see it as a hopeful sign for a political settlement, which has to be worked on.
For now, full diplomatic efforts will continue until a solution to the conflict is found.
Russia said to have been serious and constructive, but there was little sign of consensus over an international peacekeeping force for Kosovo. Russia's Balkan envoy Viktor Chernomyrdin is now in Belgrade for a meeting with the Serbian leadership later in the day. Finnish President Martti Ahtisaari said the talks were likely to be continued in Moscow. But exactly when Chernomyrdin and Ahtisaari plan to meet again with US Deputy Secretary of State Strobe Talbot isn't yet clear. The meeting in Helsinki was aimed at finding a common approach to ending the Kosovo crisis. Ahtisaari hosted the talks as mediator, and the West hopes Chernomyrdin will use his influence to squeeze concessions from Milosevic, particularly since the Yugoslav Foreign Ministry has hinted it would be open to a settlement based on the G8 agreement.
Generally speaking, we have a diplomatic opening in regard to the peace initiatives.
This fresh diplomatic initiative has again raised hopes for an end to the fighting, if only slightly. But there are still substantial differences to be addressed before the Serbs and Kosovo Albanians can enjoy peace.
Il dramma, l'analoga tragedia della popolazione civile della Serbia, anch'essa vittima innocente di bombardamenti. Né si può negare che 2 mesi di bombardamenti hanno già fatto pagare all'Italia un costo alto, un costo doveroso, perché non siamo certo noi a negare il dovere di essere leali nei confronti dell'alleanza, ma un costo alto, alto in termini economici, con una crisi che ormai riguarda tutta la fascia adriatica, da Trieste fino al Salento, crisi nel settore del turismo, crisi nel settore della pesca, crisi per tutte le imprese che in qualche modo avevano attività commerciali con la Jugoslavia.
The refugees on Macedonia itself.
And Suzanne, what is the UN role there?
Well, when Mr. Annan is finished meeting with government officials, he's going to hold a press conference. He's expected to give details of a stronger UN role in the NATO conflict and, of course, in the search for a diplomatic solution to the crisis. His visit is largely symbolic. It's seen as a UN assurance that they're pressing for a diplomatic solution. And, of course, we'll have the latest for you on that after the press conference. Alistair?
And any more developments coming up in the next 24 hours or so, Suzanne?
Difficult to say at this point. Of course, the Macedonian government is very, very interested in a diplomatic solution. However, they're also crying...
Refugees crossed the border at Blance into Macedonia on Tuesday night. They said they'd been intimidated by Serbian police and that they'd been on the road for days trying to leave Kosovo. Aid organizations estimate the number of refugees in border regions trying to flee Kosovo at around 40,000.
NATO's latest round of airstrikes has hit targets around Belgrade, including a military airport and a fuel dump. A munitions factory near Valjevo was also targeted. 6 Yugoslav planes are also said to have been destroyed on the ground near the town of Prizren in southern Kosovo.
The air raids continue, various targets struck overnight, the pressure still being relentlessly applied to the Yugoslav military and to the political leadership here. But the political leadership of NATO is also under pressure not to lose and to find a way out with dignity. Diplomacy is again moving forward, various meetings taking place, plans being discussed. In the eye of that storm, the Russian envoy Viktor Chernomyrdin. He's in Belgrade today to see President Milosevic. Interestingly, the Russian met the American diplomat Strobe Talbot on his way here. The crucial issue,
the makeup of any international force which enters Kosovo. If there's an agreement, a way needs to be found to give the force teeth. That means NATO involvement, but to make it acceptable to the Serbs, that also means possible United Nations and Russian involvement. After that, then find a way for the Yugoslav military to withdraw from Kosovo and the bombing to stop. Just before May the 8th, there was the glimmer of a possibility of a diplomatic breakthrough. Then came the bombing of the Chinese embassy, and it's taken since then to get to where we are now, which is back to negotiations. At least they're talking. Tim Marshall, Sky News, Belgrade.
After witnessing the living conditions, he described the situation as a nightmare.
NATO has presented Belgrade with a picture of an international force gathering along the borders of Kosovo, capable and ready to overwhelm its Serb opponents if ever the order is given. But the order hasn't been given, and while Britain and America have repeated daily the claim that NATO is united and determined to force the Serbs out of Kosovo, the commitment of some European NATO nations to a continuing military sledgehammer is dissolving. Italian troops have been manoeuvring in preparation for battle, while their government has been saying that there is no political premise for NATO troops to enter Kosovo. And several of the Italian coalition parties have voiced serious doubts about even continuing the bombing. In London, the British Prime Minister Tony Blair fended off opposition suggestions that he and President Clinton differed in their readiness to intensify the military campaign.
There is absolutely no difference. Indeed, as was made clear by the President of the United States yesterday, all options are under review. That is what he has always said. And I know the President well. I know that he will always do the right thing by America and by the world. And he is as committed to this campaign as anybody else. And the NATO demands and the NATO unity behind those demands is absolute and will remain.
The German Chancellor Gerhard Schröder in Brussels today to talk to the NATO Secretary-General Javier Solana said once again that Germany would not commit its troops to a ground force advance into Kosovo, though it did not constitute a split between NATO countries.
That position is also the present position of NATO. That is to say, the strategy of
zwischen der Caritas, dem Diakonischen Werk und dem Deutschen Roten Kreuz.
Sie haben sozusagen die Isabella Pfaff, Frau Pfaff, Sie waren in den letzten Tagen.
Sie unverhofft kommen, man bewegt sich also tagelang in den Flüchtlingslagern, arbeitet dort, sieht auf einmal eine Situation, einen Behinderten.
Oder aber auch, wenn Sie in anderen Bundesländern wohnen und uns zuschauen, Sie dürfen gerne.
Große Interesse vor allen Dingen von Kindern und Jugendlichen, wo immer SWR 1 auftauchte. Ja, ich begrüße jetzt im Studio ganz herzlich Horst Reinhold Schreiner, Vorstandsmitglied der Landesbank.
1000 Mitarbeiter, die in den letzten 14 Tagen diesen Scheck möglich gemacht haben, dieses Geld gespendet haben. Und es zeigt doch, dass diese neue Landesbank nicht nur beschäftigt ist mit Fusionieren, sondern auch noch die Hilfsbereitschaft weiterhin wach hält. Ich freue mich sehr, Herr Reuter, dass ich diesen Scheck Ihnen überreichen kann. Er ist auch gedeckt.
Ja, danke schön. Das ist ein Zeichen der baden-württembergischen Bevölkerung, in dem Fall von Ihren Mitarbeiterinnen und Mitarbeitern, gegen den Krieg. Ja. Herzlichen Dank.
Gerne. Ja, vielen Dank, Herr Schreiner. Wenn ich richtig rechne, liebe Zuschauer, müssten wir jetzt bei über 4,5 Millionen sein. Vielleicht schaffen wir ja die 5-Millionen-Grenze. Und natürlich, es ist klar, einerseits die großen Beträge, andererseits natürlich ganz wichtig die vielen, vielen kleinen Beträge, die sich dann von Ihnen gespendet zu den Millionen summieren.
Kleine Kinder, und von daher lassen mich die Bilder überhaupt nicht ruhen, die man im Fernsehen sieht, dass Kinder auf der Flucht sind, dass sie von ihren Eltern getrennt sind, dass sie nicht mehr lachen können, dass sie erst mühsam wieder an das normale Leben herangeführt werden müssen. Das ist ganz schrecklich, dass sich so etwas in Europa abspielt. Und deshalb begrüße ich die Aktion des SWR nachhaltig. Ich finde es ganz toll, dass eine
solche Zeiten erlebt, und für die Menschen da unten ist es eine sehr gute Sache. Ich denke, dass wir hier in Kaiserslautern oder in Deutschland gar nicht so mitbekommen, was für ein Elend da unten herrscht. Und wenn man helfen kann, sollte man es auch tun.
Ja, Gesundheitszentren eingerichtet, über ganz Albanien verstreut. Wir haben mit unseren Spendengeldern der Aktion... Albanien ist das ärmste Land Europas. Rund 500.000 Menschen leben hier in Tirana, der Hauptstadt des Landes. In Tirana befindet sich auch das Büro der deutschen Caritas. Von hier aus macht sich Hanno Schäfer auf den Weg in den Norden, ins Kloster Velje Poje. Velje ist das Projekt der Caritas, das durch Spenden der Aktion Herzenssache des Südwestrundfunks unterstützt wird. Rund 500 Flüchtlinge, eine ganze Dorfgemeinschaft sind im Altbau des kleinen Klosters untergekommen, vor Ort betreut durch Franziskanerinnen.
Also das Prinzip von Caritas ist ja folgendes, dass die Caritas möglichst über die einheimischen Strukturen, also über die einheimischen Kirche, die einheimische katholische Kirche arbeitet. Hier sind es in dem Fall der Don Marian und die Schwester Judita und die Schwester Vita, die sehr engagiert sind, die hier auch die Flüchtlinge praktisch aufgenommen haben, für die Unterbringung gesorgt haben.
Dita, Schwester Vita und Don Marian schon, dass sie den Flüchtlingen feste Häuser und nicht nur Zelte anbieten können. Einmal die Woche bringen die Schwestern und Don Marian frische Lebensmittel. Das Kochen erledigen dann die Männer, die Frauen waschen und betreuen die Kinder. Die Schwestern sind im wahrsten Sinne des Wortes für das Seelenheil zuständig.
Wir haben auch Zeit, jetzt mit den Menschen uns abzugeben und bei den Menschen zu sein. Das ist ganz wichtig. Also das merkt man auch immer, warum kommt es nicht, warum, wenn man mal 2 Tage nicht da war, kommt es doch zu uns. Und also das ist für sie auch wichtig, die Nähe einfach und ihnen zuhören. Und
wie gehen Sie damit um? Wenn Sie kriegen jetzt viel Schreckliches mit, Sie erfahren viel Schreckliches.
Also am Anfang war das für mich furchtbar, wie die ersten kamen, schauen Sie, und jetzt kommen auch schon die Tränen. Das also geht einem schon immer wieder sehr, sehr nahe.
Der Neubau des Klosters von Velje. Auch hier sind Flüchtlinge untergebracht. Und die Männer aus dem Kosovo helfen mit, froh um jede Ablenkung. Der neue Kindergarten. In ihm ist das kleine Gesundheitszentrum untergebracht, das durch SWR-Spendengelder eingerichtet wurde. Vor allem Kinder und alte Menschen haben unter der Flucht sehr gelitten und brauchen medizinische Hilfe. Fast alle Kinder sind erkältet. Auch für ihn ein Neuanfang. Der Arzt, eingestellt seit einer Woche, auch er Flüchtling aus dem Kosovo. Und jetzt kann er seinen Landsleuten wieder helfen.
Hier in Velje, das ist die jüngste Gesundheitsstation, die wir hier haben. Die ist jetzt gerade seit einer Woche in Betrieb. Da hat uns auch der Südwestrundfunk eben finanziell sehr unterstützt. Die ist im Augenblick noch sehr provisorisch untergebracht. Deshalb wird jetzt Caritas nochmal 330.000 Mark hier in Velje investieren für den Neubau dieser Krankenstation.
Ebenfalls noch im Aufbau die neue Kirche. Bevor sie geweiht wird, wird sie Heimat für 150 weitere Flüchtlinge, die das Kloster noch aufnehmen will.
Frau Pfaff, es ist ja interessant, dass vor allem in Albanien auch hier Bilder von einem Dorf gesehen, untergebracht sind.
Das Dorf Raduša, 2000 Einwohner im Norden Mazedoniens. Gleich neben dem Dorf das Flüchtlingslager.